paying foreigners up to $50,000 to buy new homes. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee, because I get a feeling this one's going to make me a little bit angry. Now, I've been working today on a new video. It's why this one is a bit late, because, I was sharing some images, you'll see it in the community, just about, average earnings and how much of, earnings for different levels of people working in different industries are required to just buy a median house all throughout Australia. And I'll go through that in another video because it's a little depressing. Imagine having to pay 55% of your weekly earnings just to service a mortgage. And that's not even talking about having a life. That's not even talking about saving to get in there. And we'll have a look at that in the different industries. But then, I go onto Twitter. I thought, okay, I'll post a picture of it up there, and I see this article that's shared, written by Frank Chung. Australia will pay foreigners up to $50,000 to buy a new home as the Perth market is set to boom. And the reason I was doing this video looking in housing affordability is because we'll go through another article then, where it's essentially FOMO about housing affordability, encouraging people to get into property now. Look at, I'll bring up this, and I've shown this many times. When I first saw this shocked me. This really shocked me. This chart here, the black line represents the percentage of new building approvals for foreign investors. See that 14, 15, 16, 17? See that big spike there? See how it went up to nearly 100%, everyone. I've worked on projects where it was entirely dependent on foreign investment to get a project off the ground. Now, the problem is, this creates a bubble in the housing sector. All these incentives we have create a bubble in the housing sector because this is the flow of money. This is hundreds of years old economic theory. The Cantillon effect refers to the change in relative prices resulting from a change in money supply. If you're chucking 50 grand at every foreigner coming and borrow money and put it into property, what do you think is going to happen? Where do you think the flow path of that money is? A specific injection point. It's in property. And who gets left behind? It's the people that no one seems to care about. Let's have a look at this. I haven't even read anything about it. I'm getting angry. I mean, this is ludicrous. This is completely and utterly ludicrous. When Australians are struggling to even get a house. When people immigrate over here I was talking yesterday in the park. I was talking to a Turkish lady, an economist. Couldn't get a job here in Australia. She went and tried to get retrained as a dental technician. Still couldn't get a job. She was blaming it all on racism. I suspect it has more to do with English skills. That tends to be reality, guys. If your English isn't very good, we don't really have much appreciation of it. We're not very tolerant of people who can't speak English very well in a retail environment here in Australia. I'd say that's the case. At least that's what I've encountered. So, let's have a look at this. Chinese buyers are being lured back to the Australian property market by generous government rebates of up to $50,000 on a new home, with calls to extend the incentive scheme past the expiry dates next year. Of course. I mean, we were talking about this, and what other crazy thing could they do? This isn't Mortgage Keeper, but it's pretty close, guys. I mean, this just shows you. They're willing to sacrifice opportunities for future citizens of this nation, future generations, just to prop up property. Lily Chong, the Perth-based Australian head of the Chinese property portal Huawei IQI, said overseas buyers had started looking past the COVID-19 pandemic and were planning for when travel restrictions eased. Australia will pay foreigners up to $50,000 to buy a new home, she said. I don't understand. Why? Australia will pay Chinese up to $50,000 to buy a new home. Australia will pay Hong Kongers. Australia will pay Malaysians. It doesn't matter where you come from. It's all in the interest of supporting the economy. And then what happens is we get a bubble because there's a new injection into property. We already have a problem in this country where everything just goes into bloody property. We got a bubble in that sector. Then you got people who don't want to start families because they can't afford to buy a house. Oh, well then look, our population growth isn't going up there. Oh, don't worry, just bring more people in. Oh, and we can't even contemplate any of these social issues that brings. It takes time for multiple cultures to merge and coalesce together. It doesn't just happen in a bloody 10-year period. Western Australia currently has the most generous incentives available to non-citizens, with a 75% rebate on the foreign buyer duty for off-the-plan purchases capped at $50,000. In Victoria, rebates of up to $27,500 are available under the Land Transfer Duty Waiver Scheme. See, here's the thing, guys. They've already spent this money. The governments, how many of our states are in debt? Okay? They're in debt. They're pissing it up against the wall. They've already spent it. So, we'll have to pay that 50 grand in lost revenue. Because of the pandemic, many foreign buyers don't know about these incentives, she said. When we explain it to them, their eyes pop open. Buyers are rushing for us to get their deals done before the deadline expires. WA's rebate scheme has been extended until October the 21st next year, while Victoria's ends in July 1. And don't all the Labor fanboys don't go, oh, look at what Liberals doing, guys. These are state-level things. Okay? It's all the same crap with the major two. Australian citizens can, in addition, take advantage of the federal government's $25,000 home builder rebate for new home purchases or renovations, which will decrease to $15,000 at the end of the year before expiring in March. Ms. Chong predicted the incentives would shift overseas buyers from other parts of the country to WA and to a lesser extent Melbourne. Buyers in Queensland are now looking at Perth because of the incentives, she said. Buyers who aren't tied down to a specific location will go wherever they can to get the best deal. Right now, that's Perth. She said there was a lot of interest now for Airbnb-ready apartments being sold by Yahweh. Did I get that right? Probably not. They are pre-approved for short-term lease starting from $303,000 and can deliver yields of 8%. What? How? Okay. I mean, come on. They say its Perth office now has more than a dozen overseas buyers who are taking advantage of the rebate, which can only be applied for after construction is completed and the application is registered on the title. A spokesman for the WA Department of Finance said, as of December 17th, no applications have been received from a foreign buyer for an off-the-plan duty rebate. I mean, buying off the plan in itself is crazy. Local property industry experts agree that Perth, which is coming out of a 5-year downturn, is on the cusp of an explosive growth period and that people are going to make a lot of money in the next 2 or 3 years. Then why do we need this intervention in the market? We've already got the cash rate at an insanely low level. This is just going to result in more and more of a bubble, everyone. People don't care. People don't care. Everyone just wants their property going up. I'm riled up because of this stuff I'm looking at how much it's costing people to service these mortgages for median houses. And I can see why people feel hopeless. But they caution that foreign buyers, including Chinese, will still make up a tiny fraction of the market. It doesn't matter. It just has to be edge cases. It just has to be edge cases. Just enough to push the price up a little bit. Then it'll change. It's the last property in the street that affects the value of your house. There probably has been a doubling of interest from foreign buyers, but it's gone from 2 to 4% maximum. And they come all over the world, said Paul Blackburn, founder of Perth's largest luxury apartment developer. The market here is driven by local owner-occupiers. Overseas buyers are investors speculating on the market, and there is no doubt Perth is the best market for investing in Australia. Blackburn's new 350 million Claremont development, the Grover Residences, has already half sold out within 3 months of launching. The last 3 months, the market has gone crazy, he said. Having 75% rebate on off-the-plan helps, but it was going to be a runaway. COVID just delayed the upswing by 6 months. Peter Wright, founder of Real Estate 88, said, while foreign buyers were not flocking to Perth, the market was definitely experiencing high demand due to WA's positive economic response to the pandemic. Perth has always been a much more affordable place to buy in comparison to Sydney and Melbourne, and now it appears national and international investors are waking up to the fact, he said. Marina East, a luxury waterfront development in Ascot, with views over the Swan River on the CBD, has 3-bedroom apartments selling for $700,000. Waterfronts of this nature are rare in Perth. We've had high interest from all buyer types, Mr. Wright said. He noted that foreign investment fees and taxes, as well as changes to foreign lending, had almost eliminated international buyers from the market over the past few years. Yes, and they played, as we've seen in this historical data, they played a significant role in overheating the market. Perth has a large and long-established local Chinese community, and I would say that the buyers have definitely been more active in the past few months, he said. Due to the lack of new development during the downturn, Perth is facing an undersupply of about 50,000 apartments, much of the pent-up demand from baby boomers wanting to downsize. Blackburn, which has averaged $200 million a year in sales over the past 5 years at low margins, expects to hit $300 million next year. The developer plans to increase prices by 10% next year on all of its projects. There's the FOMO and the time bar, at another 10% by the end of 2021. The tight rental market is another factor making Perth an attractive investment opportunity. Vacancy rates are the lowest in 4 decades at 0.4%, which is basically zero. When the state government's moratorium expires on March 21, Mr. Blackburn sees rents increasing by at least 20%. Our apartments are 45% cheaper than Sydney or Melbourne, yet rents are only 10% less, he said. Rental yields are getting 3.5% in Sydney and Melbourne. Here it's 5% already and going to 6% soon. Economists have forecast that the Perth market will grow by at least 5% annually for the near future, meaning an average price $400,000 home could see $60,000 growth in the next 3 years. People are going to make a lot of money in Perth over the next 2 or 3 years, he said. This is the beginning of a real boom in Perth. Real Estate Institute of Western Australia President Damien Collins said the body would be lobbying hard for the stamp duty and foreign buyer duty rebates to continue after October 21. Okay, because we just wanted to increase. I mean, let's this image here. You know, this is percentage of weekly earnings to pay a median mortgage for someone working in the retail sector. So anything at 30% or above is considered housing stress. And this is with the special 5% discount. You can see Western Australia. You know, if you're in the retail sector, well, you need to pay 30% of your mortgage. And that's before any of these supposed increases. A couple, still 15%. And we'll look at this in much greater detail in my other video. But why are these things not considered when the people, the bottom fifth earners, people earning, working, the people in the bottom 20%, I mean, retail, that's 10%. So that's 10% of the workers, and that's one of the lower wages there. The lower average wages is in the retail guys. So if 10% already have to struggle to pay, you know, we'll be paying 30% of their earnings just to get in. Why do we need all these incentives to overheat it even more? Are the implications of this not considered? I get the feeling it's not. This is the problem with interventions in the market, everyone. This is it. You get unnatural things occurring. In terms of sale, it had some moderate impact. It certainly is something that in the long run we think is a good policy position. It'd be a crazy decision not to continue it. Mr. Collins said the apartment market had picked up over the past 6 months, but it was mainly still local buyers. The fact internationals can't visit has potentially deferred some of that uptick, he said. I would expect that coming out of the COVID environment, WA will become a popular place for people in the Asia region, in particular wanting a safe zone to come. I would expect we could see into 2022 a much stronger pickup in foreign buyers. Yahweh RQI co-founder George, I'm not even going to pronounce that, said while it sounded strange to pay foreigners to buy houses and apartments, in fact it makes sense. This is a triple win for Australia, he said. The incentives will reduce the housing shortages. No, they won't. They stimulate the economy with construction jobs and protect the housing market from a sharp fall. This is the thing. No one wants prices to moderate, guys. If you're expecting prices to go down, there's no political will to allow it to happen. They're going to take on more and more burden, more and more future debt to prop up the sector. So what can you do? Well, you can't depend on the government helping you out. Even all the grants and the schemes and everything are going to work against you. Hopefully there can be some more political will to, well, to at least shift away from this, because with regards to economies and international trade, nations want to specialize. You'll have different nations that specialize. So you get economies of scale. That's why when people argue things like, oh, Australia can be an expert in this or this, it's kind of fanciful when you look at the size of our and the complexity of our economy compared to others. But here's the question. With all of this intervention in the market, what is the opportunity cost we're paying as a nation by impeding our ability to invest and innovate in other sectors? Everything's going at housing. Well, guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Please check in for my later video today that I'll put up about housing. Now's the time to buy and housing affordability. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create here, there's a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy merch from HeiseSays or Teespring, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us using PayPal. Take care, and I'll see you next time.